Welcome to the CSI Crime Lab, Graveyard Shift. I'm Gil Grissom, and you must be the new intern. I know it's your first night, but we're short-handed and... Grissom. Yeah, Jim. We're just leaving. We've got a homicide. I know you've got good problem-solving skills or you wouldn't be here. You'll have to jump right in on this crime scene with me. John Webster said, "Death hath 1,000 doors to let out life." Let's find out which one our victim took.
The Location tab at the bottom of the screen allows you to access various locations. To head to the crime scene, click on the hotel location now. Good. Other crime scene locations will appear here as you uncover more places to visit. 3 CSI locations are available on the right, but we'll visit those later. For now, we'll go directly to the hotel.
First officer, fill us in.
Let's see, manager got a call from a guest complaining about noise. He checked it out, found the TV going pretty loud, and this young lady here who didn't exactly need it turned up. No signs of forced entry. Manager's name is Bert Suston. He's pretty bent out of shape, but cooperative enough. You can question him if you want. Wish I had more for you.
It's a start, and the crime scene will have plenty to say. Probably a good idea to start with our victim.
Throughout the investigation, you will often want to examine things more closely. To look at the body, move your pointer onto it and click. Excellent. Notice that when you passed the pointer over the body, it changed to a green arrow. This indicates that you can inspect something in greater detail.
Look at that. There's some bruising on her neck. These marks strongly suggest she was strangled, likely a violent killing. Perhaps there's more we can learn.
Notice the case file has been updated. This means that information has been added to a file on a suspect or victim. Click on the case file icon in the bottom right to look at it. Case files hold a summary of everything you've learned about the suspects and victims you meet. This is the file for our victim. To look at the case file for the hotel owner, click on the Suspects tab. In addition to general information, suspect case files contain categories for means, motive, and opportunity. You will often need at least one of these filled to be able to get suspects brought in for an interrogation, and all of them for an arrest. Now, click on the Close button. Let's take a closer look now at the bruising Grissom mentioned. Move the pointer over the victim's neck and click. Notice the Tools tab is automatically selected on the toolbar at the bottom of the screen when you're close enough to use one. Tools are categorized into either Collection or Detection tools. Click on the Detection sub-tab. Rolling over any of the tools gives you a brief description of that tool. Find the UV light and double-click on it now. Find the UV light and double-click on it now. Double-clicking gets you a more detailed description of the tool. It looks like it might be the right one for this job. Click on Close. To use the UV light, click once to select it. Now, pass the UV light over the bruised area and click.
Deep bruising patterns suggest a ligature, sexual ritual, or premeditated murder.
To back out of this close-up view, move the pointer to the left or right-hand side of the screen and click. Notice the pointer changed to an exit arrow when you did that. Now, we'll look at collecting evidence. Click on the torn piece of cloth on the bed, left of the victim. Sometimes you'll need to search for trace evidence before collecting an object. In this case, select the magnifying scope under the Detection tools by clicking on it. Now pass the magnifying scope tool carefully over the cloth area to look for very small or hidden trace evidence. Now pass the magnifying scope tool carefully over the cloth area to look for very small or hidden trace evidence. Looks like a tiny strand of hair. Whenever you find something with a magnifying scope, single-click on it for a closer look.
Just a hair, right? A tiny thing and yet so very big. Note, it is not the victim's hair color. Someone else was here, in close proximity to the deceased.
Select the tweezers by clicking on the Collection Tools sub-tab, then clicking on the tweezers. Now, move the tweezers over the hair and click. Evidence you collect is added to your evidence folder. To look at it, click on the Evidence tab now. Evidence is categorized here by type. The hair you just collected is a form of trace evidence. Click on the Trace Print sub-tab now. You can re-examine a piece of previously collected evidence here and review what you've learned about it. To re-examine the hair, double-click on the hair icon. These evidence descriptions will often update throughout the case, so check them regularly. Click on the Close button now. It would be a good idea to collect the torn sheet as well. We're a little too close right now, so exit this close-up view by clicking on either side of the screen. Good. Now under the Collection Tool tab, select the rubber gloves. Use the gloves to pick up the torn sheet by clicking on it.
Torn from the bed? Easily strangle someone with that. This could very well be our murder weapon.
Back out of this close-up view by clicking on either side of the screen. Click on the side of the screen one more time. Well done. Next, we should interview the hotel owner behind you. Pan around the crime scene by moving the cursor to the side of the screen, then click on the owner.
Look, I know a girl died and it's a shame, but I got a business to run. We're Sustin. I manage the hotel. What do you want to know?
Questions will often be available for you to ask suspects and victims. The questions will vary depending on the evidence and information you've collected. To select a question, click it with your pointer.
Showgirl on the strip. Nice enough. Never made no trouble. Kind of a regular here. Made a half dozen visits over the past couple of weeks. No credit cards, strictly cash and carry, capiche? If she had company tonight, I don't know who. My business is minding my own business. We only give keys out to registered guests. My patrons don't like to be dropped in on, catch my drift? And I got the only master key. No idea. First name was Kylie. Last, well, that kind of varied. Smith, Jones. Seems I remember her using a different name first time she filled out the check-in card. Sure, I figured you'd want to see it. There's an address on it, too. Now, do you mind? Cops hanging around ain't all that helpful for my business.
Exit the conversation by clicking on either side of the screen. Now let's look at that new bit of evidence. Click on Documents within your Evidence tab, then double-click the registration card. You have just found a new location. You'll want to visit it at some point. Close the pop-up. If you're stuck, you can ask for hints from your CSI partner. Find Grissom in the view above and click your pointer over him. To select a question, click it with your pointer.
What do you want me to look at?
Getting help with evidence will update the evidence description with a hint about it. From the Evidence tab, click and drag any piece of evidence over Grissom. When you ask for a hint, you may learn something new or something you already know. However, all hints will count against you in your final performance evaluation. Click Close. Now, back out of this view by clicking on either side of the screen. That's the end of your training. The rest is up to you. You can process the crime scene further to find more clues, visit the CSI offices, or visit your new location. When you're ready to quit, hit the escape key on your keyboard. Good luck.
This is an expensive bauble to leave behind. May rule out robbery as a likely motive. Initials KY engraved on it. This could help us establish Kylie's identity. Our killer may be leaving us a message. Try using a similar tool. In ancient Greece, families put a coin in the mouths of their late loved ones to pay the ferryman to cross the river Styx. Could be our killer is related to our victim and has a bent for mythology, or maybe this is a final insult. There's nothing special there. We can't use that here. Since the TV was on, somebody probably used this recently. Maybe the killer. Let's find out. We can't use that here. Maybe our killer needed to wash his hands of this crime. Let's take a closer look. Some kind of stain on the sink here. We should try to detect what it is. We can't use that here. We should definitely have Greg take a look at this in the lab. We can't use that here.
So, you're Grissom's latest victim, huh? Well, I'm in charge of the victims who aren't still walking around. Albert Robbins, welcome aboard. I'll do my best to answer your questions. How our Vic died, what the murder weapon was, maybe even the deceased's identity. And remember, I'm dealing with trace evidence you weren't even aware of at the crime scene, so don't be a stranger. When you need information about the body, just ask. Asphyxia due to strangulation. The hyoid bone, just under the bruising on her neck, was broken. Quick death, anyway. Found traces of skin under 3 of her nails. Not a lot, but enough to indicate she may have been trying to fight off her assailant. You can take it with you. Ran a rape kit, too. Sexual activity, but no sign of assault. Fairly narrow ligature marks like these might indicate a rope or cord or even a twisted length of sheet was used. I don't know if you knew this already, but our victim had hepatitis C, found interferon in her system. Nothing else unusual, very healthy young woman otherwise. After death, a human body generally drops 2 degrees the first hour and another degree every hour after that, with a 4-hour give or take. Given the core temperature of the victim's liver and the ambient temp at the crime scene, I estimate she was killed between 11 and 11:30 p.m. There are petechiae in the victim's eyelids, tiny pinpoint hemorrhages caused when the blood backs up into the capillaries. But with an internal injury like this, you won't have much, if any, of the victim's blood at the scene. Any blood you find is more likely the killer's.
So you're the new pledge around the CSI frat house. How do you like the initiation so far? Look, I know what it's like to be thrown in the pool and told to swim. I'm here for you. Greg Sanders. Confidentially, I'm the guy who keeps this party hopping. Next to me, computer's your best buddy. It's hooked up to a number of search databases. Just drag the evidence onto either side of the computer and click search. To make comparisons, just drag evidence onto both sides and click compare. If you got anything, you'll find out right away.
Fingerprint. Could still be useful, though. We need to compare it to a full print to establish a match.
Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. Don't be afraid of the microscope. It's your friend too. Want to look at something under it? Just drag any trace evidence onto either side of the lens. To compare two things, drag the second item onto the other available slot. If you find a match, your evidence and case files will update. Sweet, huh? You can't put that under the microscope. You can't put that under the microscope. You can't put that under the microscope. Blood, with plenty of DNA for me to draw comparisons. Hey, good news. I found enough DNA for a profile, but comparing it to another sample is where the fun begins. Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. Check that out under the microscope. See if you can match it to a corroborating piece of evidence. What you got there is a partial print. Tricky little things, partials. Not enough info to call up a rap sheet in the database. Best thing you can hope for is finding an existing print or rap sheet and compare the partial to it.
Our hotel owner doesn't exactly have a squeaky clean background, although 10 years can change a person. Looks like Kylie kept things simple at home. Neat, orderly, almost compulsive. Sometimes a control freak away from home cuts loose, goes a little wild. A prescription for interferon is used in treatment of Hep C infections. Dated yesterday. Kylie may have just found out about her condition. Receipts from different hotels, ordered chronologically.
Hey, Kylie, it's your buddy Bart. Forget about me. Oh, you ain't slipped my mind. Not when you owe me 3 bills for that TV you trashed. Oh, unless, of course, you can think up another way to settle up. You could do that.
Seems our hotel manager knew Kylie better than he was letting on. Let's bring this information to brass. There's no prints here. Hundreds of years, investigators have examined correspondence and address books for clues. Today, that means checking out a victim's PC. Let's look at her calendar. Her last scheduled meeting was at 10 p.m. with one Devin Rogers at our hotel. Possible suspect. We'll need to talk to Brass to find Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
What do you need? It's a magnetic chromium dioxide audio cassette tape. Nothing special to tell you about it. Analyze the meds inside, and just like the label says, it's interferon. Looks like the pharmacy did their job. I was able to lift some latent prints from it, too. They look like partials. Sorry, can't do anything with that. They're just hotel receipts. Nothing special about them. Man, I hope she got air miles for all these.
Okay, this clown lied to us about how well he knew the young woman. Sure, he has legit access to the room, but any way you slice it, I can find a judge who'll give us a warrant. Okay, just for a change of pace, let's try the truth this time.
You got no right taking that tone. I'm cooperating, ain't I? I told you before, I got nothing to do with this mess. I suppose you never made a mistake, huh? I paid for my thrills. I'm a businessman now, strictly legit. So I knew the girl. Big friggin' whoop. A showgirl. Usually quiet, but she lost it last month. Went all rock act on me, busted up a TV. 300 big ones to replace that sucker. Kid keeps promising to pay me back and nothing. Hell, I wouldn't whack a kid over trivial crap like that. What do you take me for?
Nonetheless, Mr. Sustin, Kylie is dead. Murdered in your hotel.
Listen, my place ain't the Ritz, okay? Get the odd rough crowd, so I take my share of bumps and nicks. Comes with the territory. What's that, a warrant? What the hell is this? I didn't do anything to that poor kid. Take your sample and get out of my life already.
Thanks, we will. Our intern here is going to swab some epithelial cells from your mouth and take a hair sample with tweezers.
Hey guys, what's up? Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. What you got there is a partial print. Tricky little things, partials. Not enough info to call up a rap sheet in the database. Best thing you can hope for is finding an existing print or rap sheet and compare the partial to it. Sorry, can't do anything with that. You can't put that under the microscope.
For you. Drag the printout of Kylie's schedule on the search screen of our lab computer and run a search. See what comes up. Devin, the last person in our victim's date book, has a criminal record. Some recent temper control problems. Let's file that in our suspicious folder.
Sorry, can't do anything with that.
The devil's in the details, and it looks like we've implicated this devil.
Yes? Sure, I can do that.
Our intern here is going to swab some epithelial cells from your mouth and take a hair sample with tweezers.
Hey, go easy with that thing, will you? What? This your first night, and I'm your guinea pig?
What can I do for you? Yeah, the files tell an interesting story about her. Seems she reported a stalker just 6 months ago. I'd like to tell you we busted the bum, but I'd be lying. And my gut says it's no coincidence she's on a silver tray now. Partial print places him at the scene. Nice. On its own, that might not cut it, but add that to his name popping up so prominently on the VIC schedule. Oh yeah, consider the warrant issued. We appreciate you cooperating with us, Mr. Rogers.
Cut the BS. You have a warrant. What do you want? Kylie. Oh yeah, sure. The showgirl. I know who you mean.
Know her? How?
We were just, friendly acquaintances. We'd get together, hang out, party a little. Nice kid. Sweet. Not hard like some of the dancers. Everybody liked her.
Somebody didn't like her. She was murdered tonight.
Kylie? Oh, no, not Kylie. What kind of sick creep would hurt a nice kid like the... Hey, wait a minute. You're not... Now, you don't think I... No way. Never. I'm no saint, but I never killed no one. Check it out. Jeez, I don't really remember. You know how it is with social stuff. 2 weeks, maybe? All right, okay, I won't lie to you. I saw her. I saw her tonight.
Where?
Hotel way down the strip. Champagne Hotel, I think. Yeah, I got a few cuts and stuff. Since when is that a crime?
It isn't, but it might prove that you committed one.
Well, I do now. And I ain't too happy about having to get myself checked either. What for? I got a right to know what you want it for, don't I? I mean, I didn't kill her or anything. But why should I help you guys entrap me?
Mr. Rogers, the DNA sample can help clear you. We're trying to eliminate suspects from our list. We have a warrant, sir. You can give it to us, or we can take it.
Fine.
Our intern here is going to swab some epithelial cells from your mouth and take a hair sample with tweezers.
Ow. Take it easy. Couldn't you have been a bit gentler with that thing?
Hey guys, what's up? The DNA reference sample from Rogers, but the real story unfolds when I compare it against another sample. So I did a comparison. Tested the sink swab DNA with Rogers' sample. No luck. I guess that wasn't his blood in the sink. Now, I thought a comparison between the Rogers blood DNA and the skin from the fingernails would make sense. The result of my sweat and tears? Jackpot! Mr. Devin Rogers co-starred in a scrappy little show with our victim. Check that out under the microscope. See if you can match it to a corroborating piece of evidence. Okay, good. We've got a DNA reference sample from the hotel owner. This is begging for a comparison. So, I ran the hotel owner sample against the blood swab from the bathroom. Well, we have a winner. Hotel owner's DNA matches the blood from the bathroom.
Only since Mr. Sustin owns and operates the hotel, this may not mean much, if anything.
Now, I knew you'd be asking for a comparison between the skin DNA and the hotel owners, so I went for it. But no luck. It's not the same. Someone else left some obvious signs of their presence on your victim.
Doesn't look like these hairs match. They look identical. Strong likelihood our Mr. Rogers was in that hotel room around the time of the killing.
Yes? Ah, yeah, well, you have something here. This rap sheet gives us plenty excuse to talk to this charmer again. I'll have him hauled right in.
Last rocket scientist to book that room busted the mirror. And guess who cut himself cleaning up the damn mess? I bled on the sink and the new mirror. Then I cleaned up after myself. After all that work, I turned on the tube and watched the news. Work for you?
What can I do for you? You say this Rogers was slotted to meet Kylie just before her murder? Don't need any more justification than that. We'll bring the boy right in.
It was? Yeah, I can see that. She liked it rough. Clawed my arm just to get a rise.
Now, tell me if this sounds familiar, Mr. Rogers. The day Kylie returned from getting her sobering diagnosis, she did the right thing. She called anyone that she'd had sexual contact with. You asked to meet her at the hotel to talk about it, but your anger came out when she arrived. Kylie scratched you, defending herself, so you forcibly tied her to the bedpost and blindfolded her. The walls in that hotel are paper thin, so you turned up the volume on the television using the remote, which you then pitched to the floor. You tore a strip from the bed sheet, which was when a hair from your head fell into the folds. Then you wrapped the sheet around the woman's throat and finished her off. Your revenge taken, you left, but not before leaving a little tip.
Make up all the stories you want. They're bull. Start to finish. Find yourself some other sucker.
In your mind, that young woman killed you, so you killed her.
That ain't what happened. She was alive when I left her. I swear it.
We'll let a jury decide that, but the evidence says otherwise.
It never ends. You did a good job on this case. You found a suspect that meets the requirements for means, motive, and opportunity. That's all we can do. The rest we leave up to the district attorney. Now, let's do your evaluation. Great work. But asking for help cost you in your final evaluation. See if you can do as well without using any hints. I need you to go investigate another crime. Sarah will meet you on the site and give you the details. She's one of our best. You can learn a lot from her.
Looks like somebody's been playing with matches.
What we seem to have here is a break-in and arson. According to his statement, Jason Gray, the homeowner, left his house around 11:30 p.m. to go for a run. He was gone for a little over an hour, came back to find his home office ablaze. Got the fire out, but lost most of his office gear, computer, desk, the works. We've already canvassed the neighborhood, but nobody saw anything or anybody suspicious. Wish I had more for you.
That's what we're here for, officer. We'll start processing the scene, but we're going to want to chat with Mr. Gray. Sorry we had to meet here at the scene. I'm Sarah Seidel. Glad you could come aboard CSI. It was getting kind of old being the new kid myself. Anyway, I hear good things about you. We're gonna pair up just fine. We'll want to test for accelerants, things that started the fire. This looks like a typical burn pattern, lots of charged samples and residual gas in the air. We can't use that here. Can't use that here.
I'm Jason Gray. You the officers who wanted to speak with me?
We're with the Las Vegas Crime Lab, Mr. Gray. Criminalists. Sorry about your house. We just have a few questions.
Anything I can do to help. I hope there's some chance you can find whoever did this to me. Well, as I told the officer, I went out to get a little exercise. I do this when I can't sleep. It must have been around 11:30 because it was after the news. At any rate, I wasn't gone for much more than an hour 15 at the most. But as I was walking home, I could see a strange light coming from my office. And then I caught a whiff of smoke and the alarms went off. Mentally, I mean. I rushed in and somehow managed to put the fire out. Best I could. Well, I haven't taken a complete inventory, but obviously my computer, and with it, all my files and research, projects, client database. It'll take months to reconstruct it all. I should have kept backup disks in a safe deposit box, but damn hindsight. At least my insurance will cover some of it. Maliciously, you mean? I don't know, really. Not unless... Well, there is one person, but I can't imagine... James Ritchie. He's my biggest rival in the field. Aviation design. Anyway, we go way back. Not all of it good. He's been stealing clients away for a long time, and he's got a checkered past, to say the least. Still find it hard to believe. He's got several offices around town. I couldn't hazard a guess where he'd be right now.
Are you sure you haven't done this before? Little luck. Greg will tell us something useful from the sample. There's a redial button. Maybe we should find out who the last person was on the other end.
Yeah, leave a message.
Pleasant. Sounds like Ray keeps good company. Fire could have started here. House fires typically double in size every 30 seconds. Gray seems to have gotten to it pretty quickly. Looks like some burned wood scraps. Beautiful. Hydrocarbons and most other accelerants fluoresce under ultraviolet light. This is a good sample for Greg. It's colored and rounded. Definitely not window glass. We can't use that here. There's no prints here. There's no prints here. We can't use that here. Every fire has its share of survivors. This is not one of them. If the perps were grabbing up Gray's papers before lighting them, we might find a survivor. Fingerprints. Too fragile to dust, but there's other ways to check for prints. Every fire has its share of survivors. This is not one of them. If the perps were grabbing up Gray's papers before lighting them, we might find a survivor. Fingerprints. Too fragile to dust, but there's other ways to check for prints. We can't use that here. Try using a similar tool. We can't use that here. We can't use that here. We can't use that here. There's nothing special there. We can't use that here. We can't use that here. Try using a similar tool. We can't use that here. Try using a similar tool. We can't use that here. There's nothing special there. Every fire has its share of survivors. This is not one. Glass on the floor could mean the window was broken from outside, so our arsonist could have been standing just outside that window before the fun began. This lighter's an antique, so maybe it's just a collectible, but the cap's been screwed off and it's empty. Anything that could have started this fire is important. Collect it. Rag fragments. Smells greasy. I don't imagine Mr. Gray was working on his car in here, do you? Ever hear of a Molotov cocktail? That's 1 part rag, 1 part bottle, and 1 part liquid accelerant. Could be what started this fire. Does that look like a shoe print to you? Me neither. Cast it. Maybe Gray can give us a lab rat's eye view that'll tell us what the heck it is. Grissom says let the evidence tell the story. So, if this window was broken from here, why so many shards outside? We got an arson case and need some tests run.
Well, and it's a pleasure to see you too, Sarah. But I'm starting to feel like this relationship is kind of lopsided. I give, you take.
How about I make it up to you by giving you this evidence to analyze for us?
Somehow I don't think I'm making my point. So, you got a hot case, huh? Yeah, well, let's have a look. You're gonna love this. It's as simple as ABC. A, it's lighter fluid. B, it's not lighter fluid. It's from the fuel oil number 1 family. Or C, it's both. Sorry, can't do anything with that. Well, what this isn't is a shoe print. It may be a knee print, but I'm fresh out of knee print databases, so I can't do much with it at the moment. Traces of accelerant. What you have here is lighter fluid. That's wine bottle glass. I could have told you that back in my college days.
So much for Gray being Mr. Cooperation. Prints from an 11.5 boot. About 2 sizes bigger than his feet.
Make me happy. Tell me Gray's confession checks out. Sure, I can do that.
Am I supposed to know?
I think you do, and we're gonna prove it.
What can I do for you? Good call. Maybe he can tell us why Mr. Gray's confessing and lying at the same time.
Mr. Gins, there was a fire at the home of Jason Gray. You've been brought in for questioning on the matter.
We've done some business. What kind of business? That's between me and my client. But I don't know from fires, okay? Out and about. A little walk around the neighborhood. That's still legal, right? Well, I own a pair of 11.5 feet. You do the math.
Yes? Sure, I can do that.
You've been lying to us.
You see, Mr. Gray, when somebody confesses, trying to help and all, but mixes in a lot of bull, well, we get frustrated. And me personally, I get cranky when I get frustrated.
But we're willing to give you a chance to put us in a better mood. So let's play truth or dare. Just leave out the dare part.
Yeah, name rings a bell. I think maybe he lives in my neighborhood. Don't get to know your neighbors like in the old days.
Maybe you need a distinguishing characteristic of Mr. Gins to jog your memory. Like his being a convicted drug dealer, for instance?
And Mr. Gins is trying to be cooperative, too. He started by telling us you're one of his clients.
Well, like I said, he's a neighbor. I think he might have borrowed my mower or... Look, I really didn't want to have to get into this. I'm going to level with you, really cooperate. But just remember, what I'm about to share with you could get me in hot water. I have a drug problem. A way out of hand drug problem. Which is why my business has gone to pot, so to speak. Stan Gins is my supplier. Lately, Gins had been showing up at strange hours, and he'd bring his low-life friends along. Partying at my place was just sickening. On the night of the fire, I made a decision. No more associating with scumbags like Stan Gins, so I fired him. He didn't take it very well. He was really PO'd, bent out of shape. Plus, I'm sure he was high at the time, which didn't help. While I was in my office, Gins must have gone to my shed, looking to see what kind of grief he could give me. There was a knock at the door, and I opened it. And damn if it wasn't Gins, glaring at me, brandishing a blazing Molotov cocktail he'd thrown together. He was out of control. He threw the bottle, smashed my window to fan the flames, and took off. I ran out to my shed and grabbed the fire extinguisher, but then the wheels started turning. I could make the best of this bad situation if I rigged the scene to implicate Richie. I didn't want my drug problem exposed, and at the same time, I knew that if I implicated Gins, he'd kill me for sure. I'd be protecting myself and taking a competitor down with me at the same time. After the fire was out, I cleaned up the broken window, knowing I needed to make it look like a break-in to hide what had really happened. I tried to get all the bits of glass I could find and brush the dirt off before tossing them back into the office. And that's the whole sad, stupid, but true story. I tried to save my reputation. How am I doing so far?
Well, both you and Gins will be going away all right. And you do have something in common. Neither one of you can hold on to his clients.
We should have another chat with our friendly neighborhood drug dealer.
Need me for something? Sure, I can do that.
Listen, you play with drugs, you get high. Play with fire, you get burned. No percentage in the latter. Hey, I said I was out catching some air. I may have walked by his house, but that's all.
You know, Gray might have covered for you once upon a time. But you try to burn somebody's house down, and the loyalty gets strained.
Going off on a good customer like that? You got a hot temper, Mr. Gins.
Go to hell. I've got plenty of customers, but he torqued me off. Guy thinks he's better than me. He said my friends were scum.
Imagine that.
I should have torched him, not his crib. Smart mouth looking down on me. And him, a degenerate doper.
Thank you, Mr. Gins. That's what we call a confession around our little store. And you know how nice it is having another satisfied customer? Looks like a solid arson case against Gins. As for the high-flying Mr. Gray, he'll come down to earth with obstruction of justice, arson, and insurance fraud charges. By the way, trainee, nice work out there. But take some time to throw back a cold one after work and relax. This job can be hell on your personal life. Now, go see Grissom. He wants to see you.
Sounds like you showed some good instinct out there. But before you let it go to your head, let's take a closer look at how you did. Good work. Only a few things you left unexamined. Try to be more thorough next time. Officer James Garvey has been murdered. As a new CSI, this is your first cop killing. Unfortunately, it's probably not your last. Work fast and careful. Tropicana Avenue. Go.
Apparently, Officer Garvey stopped to help a stranded motorist. Or someone pretending to be.
To serve and protect. And sometimes, this is the reward. We'll never have more important work to do than this. Hey, before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I'm Nick Stokes. I've heard a lot of good things about you from Sarah, so let's work quick to nail this creep. Severe head trauma like this, something heavy, something hard's probably the weapon. We'll cast to the wound. It'll help determine what caused it. Can't use that here. There's nothing special there. Beaten over the head, 2 gunshot wounds to the chest. Man, somebody didn't want Officer Garvey walking away from this one. No sign of exit wounds. You better check it for trace evidence before we collect it. There's no prints here. Someone could have been holding this tire iron as a weapon. At some point, this thread could have snagged on here if it brushed by their clothes. That tire iron may be our head wound weapon, which looks deep enough to cast, but let's be careful not to stretch the skin. .32 caliber mag. Probably Garvey's own piece, but we'll have to confirm that. All of the rounds are accounted for. I'd say it wasn't fired recently. They'll be towing this baby away soon, so we need to get to work fast. There could be something important in here. It's blank, but maybe Greg can lift an imprint off it. This is another cop's ID. Jeffrey Deschamps. And check out the date of birth. Deschamps is a 72-year-old cop? I don't think so. Peculiar stain. Wiped, maybe? Be nice to know what it is. We can't use that here. There's nothing special there. Okay, Luminol says we got a blood stain. Tried to wipe it off, but like the man said, blood tells.
Yes. Despite the power of the blow to the head, the officer was still alive. Unconscious maybe, but breathing. The 2 bullets in the chest put a stop to that. Both bullets entered through the chest. Stippling is consistent with being shot at close to medium range. One struck the left lung and lodged there. Other hit the left second rib, deflected down through the stomach into the upper intestines. We recovered both rounds. Pretty recent. There's some early rigor mortis, I'd say no more than 3 or 4 hours ago. Pulling the scalp back revealed a basal skull fracture, combined with conjunctival hemorrhaging. We have a forceful blow to the head. Hard, slender object, like an iron rod. Well, I'd say it's a pretty good match to the skull fracture.
Until you find some solid evidence.
Yes? Those oldies but baddies? 44 caliber, 30 to 35 years ripe. Of course, they could be reloads. Garvey's weapon, clean barrel, fully loaded, not fired recently. There were a few tiny spatters of blood on the tire iron. Matches Garvey's. This ID isn't legit. It's a forgery. Pretty good one, too. I used an electrostatic detection apparatus to see if the previous page's message made a big impression. Sort of like I do. Here's what came up. Tropicana Avenue, car on roadside, needs assistance. So you figure this blood came from the killer?
No, I don't second guess you, Greg. I'd never hear the end of it.
Wise move. We have a bore here, casting no aspersions on present company. This is sus scrofa, blood of a wild boar, pig blood. Sorry, can't do anything with that. The cast of the wound indicates something slim, tubular. Pig's blood again. Genetically identical, and a decay rate comparison is a match. Cotton. Red dye present, but faded. Got another sample I can compare it to? Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. Hey, you can't scan that into the computer.
Well, this is no shot. Our dead officer's prints are on his own weapon. where this is going. Officer Jeffrey Deschamps killed along the roadside helping a motorist with a flat 30 years ago. Unsolved. M.O.? Deja vu all over again. A tire iron. Pool of blood. Blank notepad. Murder weapon. A .44 Magnum. In the grass under the patrol car. Only upside, it's a lead. We should check the crime scene again, see if there's a gun under where the car was.
Hey, you can't scan that into the computer. Hey, you can't scan that into the computer.
I can't help you until you find some solid evidence.
Looks like they towed the patrol car away. We got another echo of the Deschamps case here. .44 Magnum. Could be 70s era. Serial numbers filed off. Gunpowder in the barrel. Mag short 3 rounds. One in the chamber. Probably fired recently. Twice. This is a staged crime scene. There's no prints here.
Are you ready for this? Some freaks on crimechat.com knowing way too much about our cop killing. Hit the lab computer. I sent a link to the desktop to get you directly into the chat. Here's the ballistics report on our late officer's wounds. This .44 mag's a perfect match. You have your murder weapon.
Can't find this guy fast enough.
Yes? Sure, I'll cross your T's and dot your C's for you. Site owner Jack Riley, apartment on Mountain Vista Street, crosses Tropicana. Close to our crime scene.
Mr. Riley? Jack Riley?
That's me. What's up?
You're with the Las Vegas Crime Lab? I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about this shooting near your place.
Probably about as much as you. Thanks to Sutherland. Maybe even a bit more, since you probably don't study classic unsolved murders like the Deschamps case. The same as the other 4,000-some anonymous users who post at my site. Zippo. They don't use real names, you know? Listen, I don't mind cooperating, and I got nothing to hide, but I also know my rights. No warrant, no entry. You probably already know I do if you checked your records, but you should also know I reported it stolen a few months back. Had a party and somebody got in my gun case and helped him or herself. As for suspects, I had 35 of my closest friends over. You know there is, if you're a CSI or squad. Unique IP addresses identify the computer he was using. But I got privacy issues here with my users. No warrant, no IP address.
Yes? Riley's hosting the website where somebody's bragging about this killing. Plus, Jackie Boy owns a gun that matches the murder weapon. Isn't a judge in town who won't let us check that apartment.
What a shock. Cop goes goes down, so does the Bill of Rights. Go ahead. Go inside. For all the good it'll do ya.
Caffeinated hacker fuel. He seems to have some brand loyalty. Condensation messes with the quality of prints we can lift. Don't know how useful these will be. We can't use that here. We can't use that here. This guy's into true crime heavy duty. Whoa, here's a book by Edwin H. Sutherland, late great criminologist. Damn, Sutherland again. Sicko was at the crime scene before we went back and found the murder weapon. Guy greets us with the warmth of a cobra, but check this out. It's like he's our biggest fan.
I don't have anything else to tell you right now.
Hey guys, what's up?
This case is starting to leak out to the news thanks to our friends at crimechat.com. Tell me you got something good. We can track the computer he posted from. Computer Lab UNLV, classroom building complex, where they teach criminal justice. Here's hoping we'll be teaching some creep a class in that real soon. Let's ask the magic screen. Oh yeah, graduate, 10 years back. Criminal justice major.
Professor Franklin? That you?
Nick Stokes? Well, look at you. I'd ask how you are, but that's obvious.
I thought you were still at Rice, sir. I didn't know you were at UNLV.
Class is out, Nick. You don't have to call me sir. Department here had an opening in theory reconstruction. How could I refuse?
Well, you wrote the book. Literally. You'd be a boon to any faculty.
Very kind of you to say, Nick. Especially since you're not fishing for a grade. This time. And I understood you to be working in Dallas. CSI level 1. Problems?
No, I could have stayed, but it was time for a change. You know, and the chance to work with Gil Grissom.
And to get out of the shadow of a certain Supreme Court justice also named Stokes?
Maybe just a little.
Have to envy you, my boy. Working in the field, solving real crimes. Not some premature fossil working the academia beat for 25 years.
Decent CSIs aren't that hard to come by. Now, great teachers, that's a rarity.
You do my self-esteem a world of good, Nick. But that That's not why you dropped by, is it?
I wish. Thing is, we have a cop killing. And believe it or not, there's a link to the university. You can help by answering a few questions. Somebody's not so good at cleaning up after themselves. But more importantly, we've now found the same brand of soda in both the computer lab and Riley's apartment. It might be hard to get good prints from a can, but it's worth a shot.
This one, right here. Earlier in the day, I couldn't say, but I just met with a student, John Laskin, going over some coursework. And he was on that machine. Not to tell you how to do your work, but dusting for prints would be rather pointless, with all the traffic in here. Laskin has been digging into various unsolved crimes. Promising student, bright, doing well in my course. I believe he lives on campus. Surely your department has access to the university's housing database. Tracking him down should be child's play. Every lab on this floor is strictly for criminal justice students, and the computer lab is reserved for grad school level only. A little surprised you'd have to ask that question. That was my first big success. I wrote the book about that great unsolved case. Do you need my help? If you need to get in for further investigation, I can help. I have keys to the lab and the building itself. 24-hour access.